Hello and happy Tuesday here in Boilermaker Lounge. I am Sam Sprunger, joined by the All-American Grant Flora. Grant, hopefully you had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. We had some basketball that it looked like the Boilermakers quite enjoyed as well. But how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, we're in the week before finals here in Wesleyan, so that's always a pretty busy time. But the bright side is, in 2 weeks we'll be done with the semester. So,
Yeah, and then you'll
uh,
have all sorts of time.
right, so that'll be fun. We get like 4 weeks off in between semesters, which is pretty insane. So,
I remember college; it was wonderful.
yeah.
That time off for the holiday break was a wonderful time. But we got some basketball to talk about. We did not do a Friday show due to some travel and some family obligations with the holidays. It kind of ran in together and kept us from doing a preview of the game that Purdue played against Eastern Illinois. But really, honestly. Not a lot of preview. In hindsight, there wasn't a lot to preview. We would have probably chatted about a lot of the things that we keep talking about. And the Boilermakers put it to Eastern Illinois 109-62. Grant, that first half, the game started pretty rocky for the Boilers, but they hadn't played for a week. So you kind of maybe attest that to a little bit of a rust build up. And then after about 8 minutes, it got better.
Yeah, it was really two things I thought. One, the defense didn't look very good the first 8 minutes. Part of it
Right.
was Eastern Illinois made some shots, but also Purdue just gave up way too many good looks. And then the second thing was the turnovers. My goodness, those first 8 minutes, they could not keep from turning the ball over. And if you turn the ball over and don't play defense, you're gonna start to struggle. And the fact that they even kept even just shows how much better they were than Eastern Illinois. Is if you lose that turnover battle so much and don't play defense, like usually you're going to be down 5 to 10 points in those first 8 minutes. So, yeah, that was kind of rough. But then as soon as they cleaned that up and as soon as they played better defense, there was nothing Eastern Illinois could do.
Yeah, the Boilers paced by 24 from Daniel Jacobson. A big thing from him. I do believe he's made 24 straight from the field, which is insane to say that and have it be a real stat. But he's made 24 straight from the field, and he put chips in for eight of eight from the field against Eastern Illinois. He was pretty much dominant all over the place. I do believe he had 6 blocks along with his 9 rebounds and his 24 points. Had a really big game. And Grant, when you pair that with Oscar Clough going 4 for 4 for 10 points, 34 points and 12 of 12 from the field from your center position, you're going to win a lot of ball games. It doesn't matter if you're playing against Eastern Illinois or Illinois.
Right. And also, like, I think they were 10 of 11 from the free throw line combined. When your centers are making free throws
Yes.
like that,
Yep.
you're in a really good spot. Obviously Jacobson had the 6 blocks. Yeah, they both played tremendous. Jacobson, I think, is the one that sticks out more, obviously, with his 24 points. And the rim protection too. Like, that's just great to see him kind of coming into that when we were hoping for it and expecting
Right.
it at the start of the season. I think, for Jacobson, it looks even better because he was playing against an Eastern Illinois team that was small, not as physical. Like, against Big Ten competition, this is going to be a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
He's the type of player
Yeah.
that can dominate in the mid majors, but obviously it's a different game when you're playing the guys from Michigan or Illinois. But still, this is the type of production that Purdue needs from him because if he has to be able to basically supplement for maybe some of the physical disadvantages he has in the sense that he might get pushed around by some of these guys. But if he can step out and make a three, get to the free throw line and knock down his free throws, block some shots, those are the things that they need from him. And just to be able to kind of hold his own out there, be able to earn his minutes on the court. So, yeah, just a great game from him. Should boost his confidence too, and that's huge for all these guys coming off the bench.
Yeah, and like I said, or like you said, and then I'm gonna top that off is Eastern Illinois, like you said, was very very undersized compared to Purdue, and that contributed a lot in the ease. I'll say the ease of 8 of 8 from the field for Jacobson. But the point being on that is he still has to make those shots. He still did do some good things. They weren't like, just he gets the ball, holds it over their head, and kind of lays it up and in. There were some baby hooks in there. There were a couple of moves that got him to the hoop, a couple of dunks in there. So I mean, it wasn't just him just being oversized or that much taller than Eastern Illinois. He still had to do some things, and that's I guess is what I'm impressed and like seeing from him even more, is because the more he starts doing this and getting comfortable to doing it against whoever it is they're playing, he's going to start getting comfortable to making those moves and getting those shots off against teams that like Illinois, like Michigan, like those teams that are going to contend for the Big Ten, like Michigan State. These teams that are going to be at the top tier of the Big Ten. He's going to have this under his belt, and come Saturday against Iowa State, that's in the next huge. I know we're not going to preview that obviously until Friday, but that's a huge matchup to where if he can kind of carry some of this stuff over into that and be successful to a reasonable good clip, this center position is going to be a pretty darn hard one to defend against Purdue.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be, because they're going to go up against the Ivisic brothers from Illinois. They're going to go up against Mara and Merez Johnson from Michigan. Like, there's a lot of really good centers and really good center duos out there in the Big Ten. So Jacobson and Clough have got to be ready to hold their own, because, to be honest, like, they have a chance to be better than those duos, but they just need to be able to compete and kind of equalize and neutralize them, because you have such a big weapon with Trey Kaufman-Renn and with Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, that the center spot, as long as it's not a weakness, that should be enough for Purdue to win games. But the way they're playing, they look like they could be a strength.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely, or they're both definitely improving upon what the way they looked at the start, and it was, and I think we both actually talked about this and about it before the season started, that the meshing and getting used to being back into for Jacobson, the getting back into games that matter and playing games that in Clough getting meshed, it's going to take some time, but it's starting to mesh very quickly, especially when the Boilers play such a hard schedule when it comes to, for the most part, most of their schedule. I mean, they've got some games that you're like, wow, you scheduled them. Well, yeah, every team schedules them. That team to where you beat by 40, 50 points. But the fact that on Saturday you've got the 10th ranked team in the country coming in to Mackey to play a game, and those guys are absolutely getting better, and I love to see that they're not backing down from, and they're not shying away from the good players and the good teams that Purdue's got on their schedule.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Jacobson that looked good. I think this was a huge game for all those kind of supporting cast guys.
Yes.
You look at Jakari Harris, 12 points. Like, that was a huge day from him, just to get him
on
back
5
on
of
track.
8. On 5 of 8.
Right. 5 of 8 too. He just hasn't really been able to do a whole lot these last few games. Right. I think he's been missing his shots. He's just probably lost a little bit of confidence compared to what he had the first couple games of the season. So to see him just put up 12 and to get some baskets again and look a little bit more like himself was great, because he's a great guy that can come in off the bench, especially if CJ Cox isn't playing to his normal standard. But you got Jakari Harris, you had Jack Benter that got 9 points, knocked down 2 threes. He was another guy, I think, just because of the inconsistency of his minutes, not getting in the game all that much when Trey Kaufman-Renn's playing. Like, it can just be hard to find a rhythm, especially offensively, and to see him kind of knock down a couple of shots and kind of break that cold spell, I think bodes well for him going forward. So obviously Omer getting in and having another nice performance, CJ Cox, all those guys benefit a lot from these types of games.
You look at Trey Kaufman-Renn, Fletcher Lawyer. Renn had 14, 7 of 10 shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. The biggest thing to me, 0 personal fouls. Yes, again, undersized team, but he still didn't have any needless whistles against him. Went with he only played 20 minutes. In a 47-point route, you expect your big starters are going to rest more than what they normally do, and they did that this time. And but TKR 0 fouls. Braden Smith only had 5 points. He only took 4 shots, but he had 10 assists. And a couple of those behind the back assists were pretty. The one to Harris on the lane. Oh, it was gorgeous. So Braden Smith not scoring. He didn't need to. He dished it out and did a darn fine job there. But yeah, CJ Cox, he only scored 8 points. He shot 3 of 8. But you know what? He did have 3 rebounds, a couple of assists. He played 21 minutes. He did what we were hoping he could do consistently. And he's coming off of a Baja Mar where he did exceedingly more than what we were hoping for, and pretty excited about that. But I'm really happy that Jakari Harris had a game to where he could play and really establish some minutes, 25 minutes, establish some minutes, and be able to get some shots to fall. That was the kind of the thing that he hadn't been able to get enough consistent minutes to get enough shots to get to the point where he could maybe knock some down. The couple of shots he was getting weren't falling at the time. So you see that little bit of a struggle. I'm glad he was able to get some time in this game against Eastern Illinois and be able to knock down a couple of shots. Maybe that starts his confidence.
Yeah, and back to CJ Cox with his 8 points. I think all or at least most of those came the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, when Purdue was actually kind of struggling with Eastern Illinois, or kind of back and forth. Like, he made some open jump shots and other guys were missing. So his ability to kind of step up when the rest of Purdue's offense maybe isn't quite moving the way they usually do has been really good, because he did the same thing against Memphis and even against Texas Tech early on. Made some big shots.
6 points in the first half, 2 of 3 from threes, but they were well-timed threes.
Yeah. So his timeliness has been really helpful these last few games. Just kind of his consistency, and he missed some shots later in the game, but by that point Purdue was well ahead. So being able to come in and fulfill that role as the 2 or 3 is really helpful.
Yeah, so I mean that when you're looking at the overall, Purdue, you talked about the turnovers in that first half. Purdue had 9 in the first half, kind of out of character to start the season for Purdue. That was a pretty high turnover half. They finished the game with 10. So they cleaned it up and played a pretty darn good second half to where they only turned over the ball once in the entire 20 minutes. And when you've got not ragging on the end of the bench, but when you've got the end of the bench in there, sometimes you turn the ball over a little bit. It didn't happen. They protected the ball pretty well. You figured it would happen, but Purdue did out rebound Eastern Illinois 37-17, a real big rebound edge there. And you're looking at, when you look at rebounds, let's see, Jacobson had 9, TKR had 6. They almost out rebounded the entire Eastern Illinois team.
Yeah. And you just look at what happened to the first couple games of the season with Evansville and Akron, and it's or was it Evansville?
Evansville and Oakland.
Oakland, that's what I was looking for. You look at those games, and like Purdue got out rebounded or barely kept up rebounding wise with those two teams, and to come now against another opponent similar in caliber to those two teams and to blitz them on the boards just shows the improvement from the first couple games to where they're at now. But yeah, I think it took forever for Eastern Illinois to even get their first rebound. Like for Purdue, the first 10 minutes, it was like they either scored, got the offensive rebound and scored, or they turned it over. Like they weren't missing and allowing defensive rebounds. So I thought that was pretty wild. I don't know the exact timestamp of when Eastern Illinois got their first rebound, but it was pretty deep into the game.
Yeah, I don't have that either, but all in all, they only had 13 defensive rebounds overall, which is pretty impressive for Purdue, because they shot 41 of 65 So they had plenty of attempts. There were 24 shots that were missed, and they ended up with 11 of those rebounds on those missed shots. So a pretty good overall solid amount of dominance when it comes to Purdue against Eastern Illinois. The last lead Eastern Illinois had was 14-12 at 14:31 left in the first half. So that's they had a 12-9 lead at 15:43, and then Purdue went on a short little. Well, they tied it up, I guess. I was looking at it the wrong way, but yeah. So, the largest run for Purdue, 25-0 run. They put it to Eastern Illinois once they started figuring it out. They put it together and put 109 points on the board. I think that's the first time they hit triple digits this year, wasn't it?
Definitely could be. Yeah, because they wouldn't have done it. Yeah. And what it was, I saw like their most they've had since 2017 in a game against like Chicago State. So that's pretty impressive too when you think about the teams that have played since then that they haven't gotten to 109 till now. So just pretty impressive.
Well, that's I mean, overall, you can't really, other than that slow start and that turnover bug that they caught at the beginning of the game. There's not much you really can say about this game to say that you were disappointed in. I mean, they obviously cleaned up the turnovers and the whatever issue, clamped down on the defense and kept. They shot 63% from the field and kept Eastern Illinois to 46%. Excuse me. Both teams shot 23 threes. Purdue hit 11, and Eastern Illinois only hit 6. So it just when you put those things together and combine all those things, 16 of 18 from the line, you're going to win by a lot of points, and that's what Purdue did against what are they, the Panthers?
Yep.
Okay, I was going to say it looks like a panther on their logo. I just have Eastern Illinois, but the Panthers didn't get much of a shot, although I did see TKR and his former high school teammate played against each other that on Friday as well. I don't remember the kid's name now that is it Austin? I think that's what it was.
There is an Andrew Austin. Yeah,
I think it was Andrew Austin that he played, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I
might be able to check.
That they played.
Nope, that guy is from Rock Rapids, Iowa.
Okay, I'll take that back then.
Yeah.
There was a former teammate from high school in this game against Purdue for TKR. So, but other than that, that kind of puts a fine bow on, or a bow on that game. The Boilers improved to 7-0. They maintain their number one ranking, which for the second straight week, there was kind of some question as to maybe Purdue gets superseded from the top spot by a team that is doing good things. Michigan ran through the Players Era tournament there in Las Vegas and put some hurt into some good teams in Vegas. A lot of people thought that maybe Michigan might make the jump, but I do believe the AP has them number 3 behind Arizona and Purdue.
Yeah, Michigan did get more first place votes than Arizona did. But yeah, still at number 3. It's tough because it's an AP poll and it's like, how are you ranking this? I think Michigan's stretch to Players Era was obviously the best stretch of anybody in the country from a week stretch. Like, I think that's pretty undeniable. But I think for Michigan, for me, I've got to see it more consistently. Like, can they come back a week from now, 2 weeks from now, and keep that level of play? If they do, then they might be. You might have to consider them the best team in the country just because of how impressive that was. But from a resume standpoint, Purdue's got just as many good wins, I think. Well, or maybe one less, but like
maybe
the
one
idea.
less, but this Friday or this coming Saturday, they get
Right.
the opportunity again to add another one.
So I think from an AP poll standpoint, this makes a lot of sense. Michigan jumps up, but not to number one. Is Purdue still playing really well? And obviously, time will tell whether or not that will change. And obviously, it will change one way or another. But
Well, let's put Eastern Illinois in the rear view mirror. And oh goodness, Grant, I don't want to. I the last time Purdue travels to Piscataway tonight at 8 p.m. on FS1. They take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. My goodness gracious, I hate seeing number one next to Purdue and going to Piscataway.
it's I remember when the Big Ten schedule came out and we were on here doing the episode. And of course, we see Rutgers is the Big Ten opener preseason. And of course, we expect Purdue to be number one at that point. It's just like, are you kidding me? Because we've been here before. But I think this one is probably going to be different. I think Rutgers is a different team. I think Purdue is a different team. And while it's definitely bringing back rough memories, I think Purdue's in a better position here.
Purdue's a 16.5-point favorite according to ESPN with an 86.8% chance to walk out of Piscataway with a win. But I don't disagree. Rutgers is definitely a different team than what they've been in the past few years. Even last year, I do believe Purdue won by, I don't remember. They won. See, Zach Edey's senior year last year, they only won by 1 point, I believe, in Piscataway. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be running stuff. I try to put Piscataway out of my head. That was what I do. But I do know they won last year. I believe they went. I think they played Rutgers both home and away last year. They
did,
and they won both of them. I believe that was when Dylan Harper. No, he was back for the Purdue game at Purdue, but I think one of them, were out. One of Bailey or Harper were out the game when they played them in at Rutgers. So it just doesn't seem. Rutgers is not. It doesn't seem like they're the same style of team that they have been in the past years. Maybe not as gritty and kind of flying the ointment style to where they really get up in your grill and really disrupt what you're trying to do. And like you said, it very well and very easily could be a completely different outcome when it comes to the game tonight.
Yeah, it's when you look at Rutgers, they clearly don't look as good as they have in the past. Like even last year with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, even though their record wasn't that great, you just knew you couldn't overlook them because they had a lot of talent on that roster. This year, they just don't have the names that you're used to seeing. Like there's no Geo Baker, no Ron Harper,
Right.
None of the big freshmen. Like you just don't see some of that. And you look at their games so far, haven't really blown anybody out too badly.
Well, and they lost to Central Connecticut State by 13.
Right. That's obviously a rough loss. You look at that game and you're like, well, okay, if Central Connecticut can go into Piscataway and get a win, surely the number one team in the country can do it. But they did go to they were also in the Players era. Lost to Tennessee, lost to Notre Dame, but competed with Notre Dame and then beat UNLV. So I think they're starting to play a little bit better. And the way I look at this, there's a couple things that if you're Purdue and if you're a Purdue fan, I think you need to be aware of heading into this. The first one is, do you know who Rutgers' best player is?
Sorry, you got me in drinking coffee.
Sorry.
Are you talking about Dylan Grant?
I am talking about Dylan Grant. Do you have the roster accessible, or if you looked at it, what do you notice from him?
Well, he's averaging 15.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, and just under 1 assist, shooting 51.9% from the field. Let me pull up their roster here. That I just clicked on him as a profile. Come on. Gosh, I love technology until it doesn't want to work for you.
Right.
I'm gonna guess maybe he's that's statistic roster. Sam, jeez, nothing like live here.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
No, I honestly, what am I missing?
I'm talking about his size and his position.
Well, he's a
6'8".
forward.
Right.
Yeah, he's
6'8"
he's
forward,
a 6'8"
right?
forward.
So
it would have been beneficial for me to stay on the player profile.
yeah. Basically 6'8" forward, but he starts at the 3. So for Purdue, how does Purdue handle that defensively? Because if you put TKR on him, then you got another 6'8" forward that you're going to have to deal with without TKR. If you put CJ Cox on him, which I think is probably what they end up doing, you're talking about giving up 4 or 5 inches in height and just overall size to him at the 3 spot. So Purdue's going to come up with some way to handle that. I think it's going to be really interesting to see that, because this has kind of been a topic of discussion. I think back to when we talked to Robbie at Big Ten Media Day, Robbie Hummel, and his probably biggest concern with Purdue, not that he had a major concern because Purdue was supposed to be great and they are great, but the biggest concern was how do they handle a team that has an elite, big athletic wing. And here we are with Rutgers, their best player being an elite athletic big wing that Purdue is going to have to deal with. So I think Purdue will be fine, because outside of Dylan Grant, really Rutgers, they're not a major threat as far as their personnel. Right. Now, not to say they can't compete, but this is a game where Purdue might be able to experiment with this defensive approach and maybe still come out with a win, as opposed to if they had to play a team like, Illinois or Michigan, for example, and they've never dealt with this before. That was kind of my first big thing to look for. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if they don't start like they have, they keep the normal starting 5 out there, see how the first few minutes go, up to maybe the first media timeout, maybe a little bit into the second quarter of the first half with CJ Cox at the, on him. And if Grant's starting to pull, if Dylan Grant's the one that's keeping Rutgers in the game, then maybe you bring in Omermeyer, because he is a taller guard. That at least you've got a bigger body on him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And see if maybe that helps kind of get that ball away from Grant, or at least give him more contested shots in the paint if he's trying to get to the paint. Because when it comes to Omermeyer, he's an offensive player. His shortcoming is defense, but if he's a bigger body and he's able to, keep enough space between him and Grant to where he can maybe hedge him a little bit from getting to the hoop so easily and force him into jump shots, maybe that's what they try to do. I'm not professing to even know. That's just the thing that comes to my mind is start with first you play your game, and then you make those adjustments to see if you have to, you adjust into, okay, we'll put a bigger body on you and see what if that forces the ball out of his hand. It forces his hand to either try to force shots or try to go against a bigger body, and maybe it doesn't work as well. He's a heck of a ball player. I mean, 15.6 points a game. He's but like you said, the thing with Rutgers is after Dylan Grant, there's only one other guy that's double digits, and that's Tariq Francis, who's averaging 13 points, and then it drops down to under 10 for the rest of the way. There's not a lot of offensive production. And so I think that's a big thing is if you can hit some shots early to where you kind of cancel out what Dylan Grant's able to do, then you keep CJ Cox in there and just keep your normal rotation. But if he starts lighting it up a little bit, maybe you've got to either put a TKR or bring in Meyer and put a bigger body on him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think putting TKR on him is the right approach, at least.
I don't think so either, but
yeah,
not to start, but maybe as a secondary thing.
I think you're right in the sense that I think it starts with CJ Cox, and then if he's struggling to guard him, Grant's playing well. This could definitely be a game where Omer Meyer, Jakari Harris come in
Bigger
big, just
bodies.
as
Yep.
as good defenders, and even Jack Benter. Like they can slide Benter to the 3
Yep.
and throw him on Grant. And so, from just a
It's
pure
not that
matchup
you want
standpoint,
to do that all the time,
right?
but it's something you can do.
Right. And so we can definitely throw Benter in at the 3. And I think from a pure matchup standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. I'm also interested to see if they try and scheme him a little bit more with some trapping, with some bringing over a double team at some point, depending on where he is in the court. If we see anything like that, just to try and throw him off, because this Purdue defensive, the defensive coaching for Purdue, honestly, is really good. Just what they did with Alabama, Texas Tech, with slowing down their best players. So, it's just going to be really interesting to see how they handle that. Then the second
where
thing,
the double team comes from. Sorry to cut
right?
you off.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
Because if it comes from TKR, you've got to make sure that your center's rotating over to not letting ours guy be wide open under the hoop. That has been a shortcoming of Purdue last year. That rotation was horrible.
No, yeah, you're right.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. It's not just what they do; it's how they do it. Yeah,
Yep.
but then the other thing is Rutgers. They've been playing better, I would think. Just looking at their scores, the win over UNLV, keeping it close with Notre Dame, like they're starting to figure things out a little bit. But the team that you've seen on tape for the first 7 or 8 games, or however many they played of the season, I think there's a good chance that's not the same team that shows up tonight to play Purdue, the number 1 team in the country, on your home court, especially when you have kind of the stigma of Rutgers at home versus number 1 Purdue. I think you're going to look at a situation where Rutgers comes out playing on fire. Some guys maybe hit some shots, take some shots they don't normally take and make. And so if you're Purdue, you have to be ready for that and expect maybe a hot start, an intensity from Rutgers that you haven't seen in the past. Because if you just look at this team on tape and expect everything to play out that way, I think you're going to be surprised. And if they get you surprised and start playing differently just than what you know, they can get a nice lead early. Next thing you know, the rack is jumping and you're in a hole you're trying to dig yourself out of. So that's kind of the danger when you play a team that's been playing, has had a rough stretch to start the season, maybe looks on paper to be a pretty rough team, but they get in this type of a game. It's a monster game and they just play like a different team. They need to kind of be ready for that.
Emmanuel Agbole, I'm going to guess is how you pronounce it. He scored 21 points and had 13 rebounds against UNLV in the Rutgers win the other night. Dylan Grant had 17 and 8 rebounds. So Grant did Grant things, but then Agbole actually took off too a little bit. So Purdue's not going to have to just worry about 1 or 2 players. They're going to have to worry about a few more than that. But at the same time, you keep Dylan Grant from blowing up. If you keep him at 17 points and keep everybody else at their normal averages, this isn't going to be a big game, a tough game. Now, that being said, you're absolutely right. You let them stick around like you did Eastern Illinois for the first, 6-7 minutes, and they start getting more momentum. Then the rack, like you said, Jersey Mike's blows up and it becomes very disruptive and it gets very difficult to get your flow going. But let's call it what it is. Most of the people that worry about what's happened in Piscataway the past few years, they're just fans.
Right.
Those players don't give 2 hoots whether or not they're playing at Jersey Mike's or whether they're playing at Chrysler Arena or Assembly Hall. They've got the capability of kind of not toning it out, but not letting it bother them near as much, and especially the history that they've had the past few years there. Now, that's not to say I do believe both, all 3 of them, the big 3, were there for the half-court shot from Harper that beat them. And then, because I believe that was their freshman year, I think it was.
I think it was the year before that. I think
was it? I thought they were number 1 when they got that.
They were. That was Travion Williams and Jaden Ivey, though, when they went to Piscataway. Then the year after, Purdue was number 1 again, played them in Mackey, and lost that game, which I was actually at that game.
Yeah.
So But you have a good point. Obviously, Braden and Fletch have experienced it before, but at the same time, I don't know that Purdue's lost to Rutgers since that game their freshman year in Mackey. Like the whole stigma of Purdue Rutgers, like, yeah, they lost twice when they were number 1 2 years in a row. Since then, I'm pretty sure Purdue's owned Rutgers. It's not like it's this monkey on their back they just can't get away from. It's just, yeah, some trauma from 3 or 4 years ago that people still love to bring back up.
Yeah. Well, and it's the haters, and I say it just because, like, oh geez, just again. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those that most of the people December 9th of 2021 is when he hit the buzzer beater. Yes. So that would have been what, 4 years ago, right? So that would have been, like you said, the year before. Not that I didn't believe you, I was just verifying because I questioned myself. But it's definitely a game. This is definitely a game. Matt Painter is 2-6 on road games to start out in this new format, and relatively new format when they started doing the 2 games prior to the full slate. You play your 2 games and then you jump into a few non-cons and then get back into conference play. 2-6 on road games during those times. Last year, it was not a good good showing for Purdue. Purdue. And actually, Dustin Schutte shared a piece of information with me because we were talking during the post-game Akron post-game show that I don't remember Matt Painter getting many technical fouls, and I don't know that I've seen him get more than just a handful, and I can't remember the last time. He says, well, it was last year against Penn State at Penn State.
Yeah.
Okay.
I turned that game off.
I was calling a game is what I was doing, a high school game, and I was checking it, timeouts and stuff, and I'm like, are you kidding me? They're down 14 points. Actually, it might have even been a football game at that point. We had a long run in playoffs last year, but I'm looking, I'm like, they're getting beat by 18. I couldn't believe it. But it's definitely something that and he even made a comment about the slow start, past struggles in the openers. And let's see what Dustin Schutte says here. You can put this is from Matt Painter. It says you can put your finger on it and say, in all these games we shot poor free throws. In all these games our transition defense stunk. I think the road brings a different element. I think conference play can sometimes bring a different element. You just do your job and play well. And so, like, he doesn't say there's like a jinx or anything. It's just sometimes when you play a poor game and it's in the conference, you're going to get there. Your conference guys are going to beat you. And so you can't afford to play a subpar game. You got to play your game in these games or you will get beat.
Was the game last year at Penn State? No, it wasn't their first true road game. They had a game against Marquette before that.
Right.
That was on the road. But I don't know. I was just trying to think about like their road experience before they get to these games. Because this year they played at Alabama. They played at Kentucky in an exhibition. Like they should theoretically have enough experience on the road that it's not going to disrupt them more than you would expect. You know what I mean? But last year, I don't think that was the case. Last year, it may have been more like they weren't as solid of a team, and Penn State was able to expose their weaknesses. I think the matchup was kind of bad, but still, like 2 years ago at Northwestern, like when that was the Final Four year, they still lost their Big Ten road opener at Northwestern in overtime, and it was just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense outside of, it's just tough to play on the road in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. So tonight, 8 p.m. on FS1, the number 1 Purdue Boilermakers travel to Piscataway. Well, they're there right now. They're already there to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Purdue 7-0, Rutgers 5-3, but never a given that you go into a road game on a conference opener and never get a gimme. But if you look at the breakdown, 89.7 points average for Purdue, 71.8 for Rutgers. So Purdue's giving up 68 points a game. Rutgers is giving up 67.6 points a game. So one of those things has got to give. Either Purdue doesn't score their 89 points or Rutgers gives up more than 67. And hopefully, I don't care if they score 65. As long as they've got one more point than Rutgers, I'm okay with how it goes down in Piscataway.
Yeah, I mean, if everything happens on paper, I don't think Rutgers defense is going to be able to handle Purdue's offense whatsoever. It's possible that Rutgers can find some ways to score with Grant and in some of those matchup situations, but I don't think I can keep pace with the Purdue offense. That's where I think Purdue really kind of asserts their will in this game and ends up pulling away. But like you said, you never know. And when you're on the road, sometimes your offense just doesn't look the same as it has the rest of the season. And so I think that's the big thing for Purdue to avoid is don't try and do anything outside of what you've already done. Just play your offense, play the way that you normally can, and you should have no problem.
Well, I think the rotation or the depth for Purdue is huge. I think the fact that they can put in a whole new starting five, and I use the air quotes there, is really huge for them because that means they can keep fresh bodies in there. If somebody does get into foul trouble, they've got enough off their bench that they can be not to the same level, maybe, but still pretty effective. And so I think you're right. I think Rutgers isn't going to be able to keep pace with that offense. And if Purdue plays any sort of good defense like they have against their pass games, it's gonna come out all right tonight.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little nerve-wracking at the start, I think, just with being at Rutgers, obviously. But with any luck, this will start to feel better and before the first half's even over, and then we can move on and keep rolling. But Purdue basketball is playing good right now, and so that's what they do have going for them is they're playing some of the best basketball they've played in a long time, to be honest. So.
Yep, there will be a Boiler Ball post game in the lounge after the game tonight. After Purdue and Rutgers wraps up, Dustin, Schutte, and Grant will be there. I have a broadcast of a high school game that I'm doing, so I'm going to be watching the Purdue game later tonight after I get home, and I'm able to sit down and be able to watch it. I'm sure I'll know the ending by then, but hopefully it's not me going, oh, I got to see what's going on tonight. Hopefully it's, yeah, I can see what happened tonight. But be on the lookout for that after the game is over. But that brings us to the end of today's Boilermaker Lounge. Big win over Eastern Illinois. A big game tonight, 8 p.m. FS1, Purdue and Rutgers. Grant, have a good evening watching some Purdue basketball and being recognized at different places tonight for your accomplishment last week in the well, I guess week before. When it wasn't last week, it was the week before, wasn't it?
Like a week and a half ago. Yeah,
week and a half ago in Florida. You're getting some more recognition, so enjoy that. But then also watch some Purdue basketball and enjoy that as well.
Right. Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a fun evening. Hopefully. With the win.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. And for Grant Flora, the All-American, I'm Sam Sprunger. We'll see you on Friday.